For the entire time that you and I have been using the internet, there's always been this one fundamental assumption holding the whole underlying architecture together.
Right, like an invisible rule.
Exactly. It's hard-coded into the very economics of the web. And it basically goes like this, right?
Yeah.
When a link is clicked, or, when a video is played or a page is requested from a server, there is a human being on the other end of that action.
Right, an actual person.
Yeah, a person sitting at a desk or tapping on a phone with a pair of eyes and an actual attention span. But today is July 3, 2026. And according to the data we're diving into today, that fundamental assumption has officially shattered.
It really has. I mean, it is a profound paradigm shift. And I think what's so wild about it is that it's happened almost entirely out of sight.
Yeah, completely under the radar.
Right. The entity requesting data from a server is no longer guaranteed to be human. In fact, statistically speaking, if you're looking at specific layers of the internet right now, it is increasingly likely that they aren't human at all.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really grasp the magnitude of this shift, we are looking at this absolute masterclass of a piece from Tech Reader magazine.
On the Aaron Rose piece.
Yeah, by Aaron Rose. It's titled, "Bots Now Account for More Web Traffic Than Humans." And, Rose has done something incredibly valuable here for all of us.
He really synthesized a mountain of data.
He did. He pulled together major, groundbreaking 2026 data from all these heavy hitters in the cybersecurity and network infrastructure world. Specifically, we're talking about Imperva, human security, and Cloudflare.
Because, looking at any single one of those reports in isolation...
You just get a tiny piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. It only gives you a fragment of the network topography.
Yeah.
But when Rose overlays the data from a security vendor with the data from a massive infrastructure provider, you suddenly get this complete high-definition picture of a web that has fundamentally transformed its core identity.
Right. And so our mission today in this deep dive is to decode what this invisible flip actually means for you. Because as you navigate the internet today, you are participating in a network that is increasingly, just talking to itself.
Just machine to machine.
Exactly. So we're going to explore the mechanics of how this happened, what a non-human web actually looks like under the hood, and how it completely rewrites the economic foundation of the digital world. But to start, we really have to look at the raw numbers.
We do, because there's a pretty serious discrepancy in the data that we need to untangle first.
Right. It's a bit confusing at first glance.
Well, we need to ground this in reality, because automated traffic is part of the internet's DNA. It's not new.
Right. We've always had bots.
Since the very earliest days of the web. Search engine crawlers were methodically parsing HTML to build indexes decades ago. Uptime monitors, RSS feed readers.
Yeah, bots have always been there.
Yeah, exactly. But what Rose points out in this synthesis is that while the presence of bots isn't new, the current ratio and, more importantly, the underlying intent of those automated systems have completely mutated.
Mutated is the perfect word for it. So let's get into that new ratio. The article highlights Imperva's 2026 Bad Bot Report, which analyzes traffic data from 2025 across thousands of domains.
And their headline finding is just staggering.
It is. They found that bots now account for 53% of measured web traffic.
Over half.
Over half. And this isn't some sudden one-off anomaly. This is the second consecutive year that automated traffic has outnumbered human activity. In 2024, the figure was 51%. So more than half of the measured internet is machine.
Right.
But then Rose immediately introduces this massive caveat.
The Cloudflare data.
Yes. Cloudflare's data from June 2026 claims something entirely different. Cloudflare classifies automated requests at roughly 35%, which leaves human traffic comfortably in the majority at 65%.
That is an 18-point spread between two highly respected data sources.
It's a huge gap.
It is. If you're just skimming the headlines, your immediate assumption is that one of these companies just has a totally broken methodology.
Yeah, I was absolutely scratching my head at this when I first read it. So let me try an analogy here to see if I'm mapping this network architecture correctly.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is this discrepancy basically a matter of where you are installing your sensors? Like, okay, say Cloudflare is monitoring the main water pipes entering a city, right? So they see the total raw volume of water flowing through the infrastructure.
Right, the broad view.
But Imperva is monitoring the actual faucets inside high-end commercial buildings. Like, they are measuring who is interacting with the high-value mechanisms. Is that kind of what's happening?
That is an excellent way to visualize the network layers, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Because both of these statistics are mathematically accurate. They're just measuring completely different environments in the OSI model.
Okay, break that down for us.
So Cloudflare operates a massive global content delivery network, plus their DNS resolution service. They measure a very broad, neutral cross-section of the internet backbone transit.
Like the main water pipes?
Exactly. They see the raw packet flow across the wide-open internet. That broad baseline is where the 35% figure comes from.
Okay, got it. Well, Imperva is standing squarely at the transaction point.
Precisely. Security vendors like Imperva or Human Security, they are deployed to protect very specific, high-value choke points. They're measuring the application layer.
Like login screens and stuff.
Yes, exactly. These are the login endpoints of a financial institution, the checkout flow on an e-commerce platform, or the API gateways that connect massive enterprise software.
The faucets in the analogy.
Right, the faucets. And bot activity naturally hyper-concentrates at the application layer, because that is where the payload is.
That's where the money is.
Exactly. That is where account takeovers happen, where inventory is hoarded by scalper bots, and where proprietary data is scraped. When you isolate your measurements to those high-value transaction points, the bot volume surges to 53%.
Wow. Which means if you are running a business online today, the traffic hitting your most critical infrastructure is already majority non-human.
Almost certainly, yes.
And as the article notes, regardless of whether you look at Cloudflare's broad 35% or Imperva's targeted 53%, the vector is identical. The machines are consuming a larger and larger share of the total bandwidth.
The trend line only goes in one direction.
Right. But this baseline disagreement actually masks a much more volatile shift happening right beneath it, because the bots themselves have mutated.
Yeah, the actual composition of that automated traffic is where the real structural change is happening right now.
Yeah.
We're moving way beyond the traditional scripts that we've dealt with for the last 2 decades. The traditional bot pocket.
That's the uptime monitors.
Yeah, uptime monitors, the standard vulnerability scanners, the basic scrapers, that volume has actually remained relatively flat.
So where's the growth coming from? The eruption is coming entirely from AI traffic, isn't it?
Entirely.
Because the article cites data from Human Security, and they analyzed more than 1 quadrillion interactions, which is just a frankly absurd number.
It's massive scale.
And they found that AI-driven traffic was growing 8 times faster than human traffic throughout 2025.
8 times faster.
But here's the metric that made me literally, physically stop reading.
Yeah.
Agentic AI traffic, which they classify as a specific subcategory, right, grew by 7,851% year over year.
It's almost hard to comprehend.
And to ground that in reality for you, Cloudflare's data now identifies Anthropic's bots as the second largest automated operator by verified volume on the entire internet.
Just massive volume.
They are sitting right behind Google, and they are already outpacing Meta and OpenAI.
Yeah, and we really need to dissect the difference between a traditional crawler and an agentic system here. Because understanding that mechanical difference is the only way that 700 to 800% growth rate makes any sense at all.
Right, but hold on. 7,800%. Anytime I see a growth metric over 1,000% in the tech sector, my immediate thought is always, well, they started at absolute zero the year prior.
Sure, the small base effect.
Exactly. Like, is this actual structural volume that we need to care about, or is this just a mathematical trick on a tiny baseline?
No, it is a very fair skepticism. And yes, the baseline was relatively small in early 2024. But the raw volume of this traffic today, I mean, enough to make Anthropic the second largest bot operator globally, that proves this is not a statistical quirk.
Okay, so it's real.
It's very real. This represents a fundamental behavioral shift in how compute is being utilized on the web. Think about it like the difference between a cartographer and a personal assistant.
Oh, I like that. Run with that. How do they interact with a web page differently?
Okay, so a traditional crawler, like the Googlebot, is the cartographer. It makes a simple HTTP GET request to a server. It asks for the HTML file, reads the text, maps the links, and then it leaves.
Very lightweight.
Very lightweight. It doesn't execute complex JavaScript. It doesn't log into anything. It doesn't maintain state. It just passively maps the terrain so humans can search it later.
Right, okay.
But an agentic bot is the personal assistant. It is not just indexing data. It is autonomously performing tasks on behalf of a user.
So it's actually doing things.
Exactly. To do that, an agentic bot often spins up a full headless browser.
Wait, Like a whole browser.
Yeah, like a hidden, invisible version of Chrome. It waits for dynamic React elements to render, it clicks buttons, it navigates drop-down menus, it synthesizes context in real time.
Wow.
So it uses massive amounts of server resources compared to a traditional crawler because it's actually using the application, not just reading the code.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because when you delegate your browsing to an AI assistant, the way that agent interacts with the underlying website fundamentally breaks the economic loop that the site relies on to exist.
Exactly. It completely severs the feedback loop of the open web.
Yeah, the article frames this as the referral collapse. And I think this is so crucial for you to understand because for decades, the social contract of the internet was built on what Rose calls the crawl to referral ratio.
It was a very symbiotic deal.
It was. A search engine is allowed to crawl your server, parse your content, and build its product. In exchange, when a human searches for a relevant topic, the search engine routes that human attention back to your website.
Right. The publisher trades their raw data for human page views. And those human page views can be monetized.
Exactly. And the historical ratio for Google, according to the article, has hovered around 5 to 1. So for every 5 pages Google crawls, it historically sends one human visitor back to the open web through a click.
A fair trade.
Right. Now, compare that 5 to 1 baseline to the new AI agents. Perplexity's ratio is roughly 186 to 1.
Wow.
OpenAI is at 848 to 1. And Anthropic, as of mid-2026, is operating at an astonishing 4,580 to 1.
Just think about that. 4,580 pages consumed, processed, and synthesized for every one human click returned.
It's brutal. And to really understand the mechanics of this, I want you to imagine you run a detailed tech blog reviewing photography equipment. Okay?
Sure.
A human user wants to buy a new camera. Traditionally, they search, they click your link, they load your page, the ad network fires, the analytics pixel registers a visit, and you maybe get an affiliate click if they buy something.
That's how the web works. Man.
Right. Now imagine a user asks an AI agent to find the best camera. That AI agent might parallel query 50 different photography sites in a fraction of a second using a process called retrieval augmented generation.
Exactly. The agent hits your server, but it doesn't load your ad tech stack.
Yep.
It doesn't execute your Google Analytics JavaScript. It bypasses the visual rendering entirely, extracts the raw text payload of your review, synthesizes it with 49 other sites, and delivers a perfect answer directly into the user's chat window.
So the user gets exactly what they want,
Immediately.
but your server just absorbed the compute cost of serving all that data to the bot while your business registered 0 human engagement.
0.
No ad impressions, no subscription prompts, no brand awareness. If an AI system reads your site 4,500 times to train its native answers, but never sends you a single human customer, the economic foundation of your publishing model just evaporates.
What's fascinating here is that, according to the network analyst that Rose interviewed, this referral collapse is not some malicious conspiracy.
It's not on purpose.
No, it's not engineered by AI labs to intentionally starve independent publishers. It is simply a structural byproduct of how a chat interface functions.
How so?
Well, when a user queries a large language model, they demand the synthesized answer natively inside the application.
Yeah, if I ask a chatbot a question, I want the answer right there.
Exactly. Providing a list of blue links is seen as a failure of the product. The AI is working flawlessly to give you the answer. The problem is that flawless execution structurally bypasses the creator of the data.
It is the ultimate intermediary. It consumes the web so the human doesn't have to. But if the publishers are being starved of human traffic, the entire advertising-supported internet is on a ticking clock.
Which naturally leads us to the broader context of the attention economy.
Right. Now, Rose is careful to point out that AI didn't invent this problem. The attention economy was already showing severe structural fractures long before agentic bots scaled up.
Right. The architecture of the web has been consolidating for a decade. And this article brilliantly positions the rise of agentic AI not as an isolated meteor strike out of nowhere, but as the final acceleration of a much longer arc.
Yeah.
The original model of the web where decentralized creators publish content and advertisers pay to reach the specific humans viewing it that's been eroding for years.
Yeah, I mean, we watched social media platforms build massive walled gardens, actively penalizing the reach of any post that included an outbound link.
Because they needed to trap human attention inside their own ecosystem to serve their own ads.
Exactly. We watched the massive migration to mobile apps, which siloed the open web. We even watched traditional search engines aggressively deploy zero-click architecture, right? scraping weather data or sports scores and placing them directly on the search results page so the user never clicked through to the source.
The fragmentation of human web traffic is a long-standing trend. But what agentic AI introduces is an entirely new order of magnitude.
It's just so much faster.
Right. It operates at a velocity and scale that human-driven walled gardens couldn't possibly match.
There is a highly revealing quote in the article from Cloudflare CEO Matthew Prince, and he was speaking at SXSW back in March of 2026.
Oh, this was a great point.
Yeah, he noted that before the generative AI era truly took off, bot traffic was historically incredibly stable. It sat at around 20% for years, and the vast majority of it was just Google quietly indexing the web.
Just humming in the background.
Exactly. So the surge we are seeing today, this sudden jump into the 35 to 53% range, represents a violent baseline shift in a remarkably compressed time frame.
And that compressed time frame has completely broken the telemetry of the web.
Yes.
Web analytics, which real businesses rely on to make financial decisions, are now incredibly obfuscated.
So what does this all mean? Like, if you were managing a digital platform today and your dashboard shows a 40% spike in server requests to a new article you just published, how do you even parse that data?
You really can't, not easily.
Right. If up to half the interactions on the internet aren't human, how does anyone know if their content is actually resonating with a real person?
The reality of network management in 2026 is that discerning intent is just incredibly difficult. A traffic spike could be genuine viral human interest, or it could be a swarm of agentic crawlers aggressively indexing your new data to update a real-time language model. Or, and this is most likely, it's a messy synthesis of both.
Just a blur of human and machine.
Exactly. And while security vendors are rapidly deploying advanced behavioral biometrics to try and filter out the agents, there is no universal standard yet. So for you, reading an article on your tablet, the surface layer of the web appears completely intact.
Right. The CSS loads, the typography looks nice, the video plays smoothly.
Like subsurface.
Subsurface, it's a completely different world.
Yeah, subsurface, there is a massive parallel ecosystem of automated transactions occurring. Machine-to-machine communications. Automated systems are requesting payloads, verifying schemas, and synthesizing contextual responses at light speed, entirely decoupled from human observation.
The article calls this the bot-to-bot horizon, which sounds like a sci-fi movie, but we are rapidly migrating toward an infrastructure designed explicitly for non-human consumption.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the major technology conglomerates aren't just passively watching this referral collapse happen. They're actively architecting the protocols for this parallel web as we speak.
They're building the new pipes.
Yes. The article outlines 3 specific infrastructural pillars being deployed right now.
Okay, let's hear them.
Agent authentication, machine-readable content formats, and automated payment channels.
Let's look at the mechanics of those, because this is how the internet actually functions going forward. So agent authentication means moving beyond the old honor system.
Which was basically broken anyway.
Totally. Historically, a bot identified itself with a simple user agent string, just a little line of text saying, hey, I am Googlebot.
But anyone can spoof a text string.
Exactly. I could do that right now. The new infrastructure relies on cryptographic attestations. A bot will carry a digital cryptographic ID verified by mutual TLS, so a server can cryptographically prove exactly which AI lab is knocking on the door.
Right.
And then it dynamically decides whether to allow the request.
Which is deeply tied to the second pillar.
Right.
Machine-readable formats.
Right, the data itself.
Exactly.
Right.
Because as AI agents become the primary consumers of web data, publishers are realizing there's really no point in sending a bot a heavy HTML file loaded with CSS animations and layout tags that were designed for human retinas.
Bots don't care about the font you chose.
They don't. So we're seeing a shift where servers are provisioning parallel API endpoints. If a human requests the page, they get the visual website. If an authenticated agent requests the page, the server delivers a stripped-down, purely semantic JSON array optimized for an LLM to digest instantly.
Which is brilliant, but it brings us to the third and frankly the only pillar that determines if the web survives economically.
The money.
The money, automated payment channels. Because if the AI agent is extracting your raw data via an API, but it completely bypasses your ad network and brings you 0 human page views.
You're losing money.
Exactly. The only viable mechanism for survival is a microtransaction. The server authenticates the agent, delivers the machine-readable payload, and automatically meters the AI's parent company for a fraction of a cent.
Right, just a tiny fraction per request.
But at scale, that adds up. The industry is being forced to realize that if they do not build a standardized protocol to compensate the data creators, the agents will eventually run out of fresh, high-quality human data to consume.
The ecosystem will literally eat itself.
It really will.
It is an incredible architectural pivot. The web is retrofitting itself in real time to monetize the machines.
It is absolutely wild to map out, but it gives us a brilliantly clear view of the trajectory we are on right now. I mean, we started with the hard data that bots have crossed the threshold, accounting for 53% of traffic at the application layer.
We dissected the explosive 700-800% rise of agentic AI.
Right, bots that don't just index, but actively execute and browse on our behalf. And we explored the crushing economics of the 4,500 to 1 crawl-to-referral ratio, where servers absorb the cost, but businesses receive zero human engagement.
And finally, we looked at the new plumbing being installed right now.
The cryptographic IDs and data APIs.
Right.
All to support a web built for machines.
It represents the most significant structural transformation of digital communication since the transition to mobile. Honestly, it might be bigger.
It really feels bigger. So the next time you pull out your phone and ask an AI assistant to summarize a complex news event or find you the absolute best deal on a flight, realize that you are pulling the levers of this massive invisible infrastructure.
You're initiating the swarm.
Yes. Your single prompt deploys a swarm of unseen agents out into the dark forest of the network, interacting, scraping, and synthesizing without ever loading a single ad or rendering a single visual page.
Which leaves a lingering and honestly somewhat haunting question that builds entirely on Rose's reporting.
What's that?
Well, if the tech industry is aggressively optimizing the internet's architecture for this new automated majority.
Right. Building machine-readable APIs, cryptographic agent authentication, and server-to-server micropayments.
Exactly. If they are doing all that, what is the end state for the human web?
Oh, man.
Do traditional visually designed websites with their readable typography and aesthetic layouts, do they eventually become a nostalgic premium novelty?
Like vinyl records.
Like vinyl records. While the actual internet, the vast overwhelming majority of global data exchange takes place entirely in the dark, machine talking to machine, at velocities we can't even perceive.
That is a staggering thought to leave on. The internet used to be a destination we navigated. Increasingly, it's becoming an autonomous engine that goes to work for us, completely out of sight. Remember that the next time you request a page and wonder what kind of digital entity is requesting data right alongside you. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the mechanics of the digital world around you because as we've seen today, the architecture beneath our feet is shifting faster than ever. We'll catch you next time.